Penn State suffered key injuries to key players within this game at Wisconsin on Saturday night. But how about that trademark resiliency? We saw it earlier this season at USC, and we saw it again in this very game.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
A little bit of another slow start for the blue and white. One of these weeks, they're going to look really good coming out of the gate. But another slow start for Penn State, but a really strong finish for the Nittany Lions. A 28-13 victory on the road in a tough environment at Camp Randall Stadium. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about Penn State here in my takeaways in just a minute. Deservedly so. We got a lot of Penn State talk here coming up. But I wanted to make sure that I get in some Wisconsin stuff before I get to that stuff on the Nittany Lions here. Of course, it was that pick six. Another turnover from Braden Locke. Another game where he turns the football over. Ever since he took over for Tyler Van Dyke, he has turned the football over in every single one of those games. Backed up 3rd and 14 on their own goal line. Just didn't see Jaden Reed. A bad throw and a bad decision by Braden Locke completely flipped this game. It gave Penn State the lead, and they never looked back. I thought this Wisconsin defense played well in the first half. I thought that they played well enough to see if they could carry that over into the second half to possibly pull this upset. After that Penn State touchdown where they marched down the field and got into the end zone with that Nick Singleton touchdown grab, they forced 5 consecutive Penn State punts. That's exactly the defensive performance that Wisconsin needed to play within this game. Now, I'm not a big moral victory guy, but I think that there are some positives that you can take away from Wisconsin. I think that this is a Badger team that is progressing. Look, this is not the turnaround, certainly, like Kurt Cignetti over there at Indiana, right? Not a lot of people in college football are going to be able to turn things around that quick. I think that this is a slow build at Wisconsin. Remember, this was a Badger team that played within a score, whether they were leading or whether they behind. They played a one-possession game with the number 3 team in the country for basically 3.5 quarters, maybe 3 3/4 quarters during this game. So I think being able to hang around for that much is encouraging, but there is certainly a lot to work on. You look at those drops in the first half that really halted a lot of offensive success. This is a team that got wore down and just got punched in the mouth at the end of this game. They lost the battle in the trenches, of course. So there's still a lot to work on for Wisconsin. But they got to shore these things up. And, man, they just got to protect the football to be able to win some of these games against the Minnesotas, against the Nebraskas, against the Iowas, right? Those traditional Big Ten West teams that they need to beat to be able to have a successful second half of the year. But I think this game shows that there is progress, incremental progress for Luke Fickell and this Wisconsin football program. All right, let's talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions, shall we? The big storyline of this game, of course, was the injury to starting quarterback Drew Allar. Drew was playing really good football in the first half before he went out with that injury very late in the first half, and then enter Beau Pribula. Beau knows this program. Beau knows this offense clearly very, very well. We talked about Wisconsin's defense and how they played in the first half, where Penn State only scored 7 points. I think when Beau Pribula came into this game, it was almost like defending a different type of offense, because you still had the passing threat. You really saw that as the third quarter started to go by, and then once we got into the fourth quarter, you saw Beau Pribula's passing ability. But now you, especially in that third quarter, you saw his running ability. Now, I'm sure Mike Tressel in Wisconsin was ready to defend that in terms of a change of pace play or some packages, all that stuff that Andy Kotelnicki really does in this offense. But they had to defend it consistently. And Beau Pribula very often would pull the football out of the belly, and those were just back-breaking runs, those QB runs, the design QB runs that Penn State was doing in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, and Wisconsin was a little bit slow adjusting to that. And then when maybe they got caught up a little bit on that, that's when Beau Pribula really started to throw the football effectively, and he was very, very confident throwing the football within this offense. Look, Beau Pribula, and James Franklin said this post-game, he knows his role within this team right now. And there's a reason why they've wanted to get Beau Pribula on the field this season, right? If he comes in absolutely cold, who knows how this thing goes? But we've seen Beau Pribula on the field where they split Drew Allar out wide, and we know all about the creativity that Andy Kotelnicki wants to do on the offensive side of the football. And so that experience this season, I think he played a little bit last year as well. That experience, I think, certainly helped Beau in this situation to be able to play as well as he played in this game. I was impressed, but because he's been on the field, because he's got that little bit of experience, and because of what we've seen with Beau Pribula, I'm impressed, but I don't know if I'm all that surprised right now from Beau. So I'm very curious to now where Andy Kotelnicki takes this going forward, because we've seen Beau Pribula play quarterback. Like we said, we've seen Drew Allar out wide, right? We've seen some of these formations. Now, all of a sudden, what has Penn State put on film? They've put on film that when Beau Pribula's at quarterback, and we knew Beau, like if you knew Penn State, I think you knew Beau could throw the football. This was certainly not Alex Orji back there. That was not this type of situation. Now, there is a real, true threat that Beau can make big-time throws when he is back there at quarterback. I think that really takes the wrinkle to a new level possibly in the games coming up on the schedule for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Beau Pribula's performance in the second half, of course, was a big determining factor to Penn State driving the ball down the field and winning this football game. Another huge factor, I think the other huge factor for Penn State winning this game was really how well that they played in the trenches, specifically on the defensive line. What did we talk about in the preview? What did Wisconsin need to do to be able to pull this upset? They needed to be able to run the football with Tawee Walker. Because when Wisconsin, that was kind of, they were a run-first offense, and then that opened things up in the play-action game, the RPO game, those crossers that Wisconsin runs in the pass game to be able to open that up. And they found a little bit of success at the end of the first half. Once we got into the second half, Penn State did a great job shedding blocks on this Wisconsin offensive line, and they were living in the backfield. Tawee Walker ran 22 times for 59 yards. That's under 3 yards per carry. You can't have that if you're Phil Longo in this Badgers offense. 81 yards rushing as a team, because now when Penn State was able to do that, what happens next? You put the ball into the hands of Braden Locke. And what did we say in the preview? If you make Braden Locke be the playmaker, it's not going to go well for the Wisconsin Badgers. Right? You saw that with the pick six. They get a couple of negative rushing plays. Braden Locke has to go out there and he's got to try to make a play, and it turns out into a game-changing interception at that point in time. I saw Wisconsin try to get a little bit more lateral on some of the runs, and that just wasn't going to develop over time because Penn State has more lateral speed than this Wisconsin team did. They're a very fast defense. They're an attacking defense. Tom Allen does a really good job with this defensive structure at Penn State. So their ability to limit the Wisconsin run game specifically in the second half was a huge driving force of that really strong second half, that resiliency that we talked about at the top of this. And then now as we really get deep into the second half, you get in late into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and I talked about this in my preview as well. Penn State needed to get methodical, and they needed to wear down Wisconsin where their great players could make plays against Wisconsin's good players. That's exactly what happened in this game. I want to highlight two Penn State drives that I think just broke the back of Wisconsin. We talk about late in the third quarter, and this drive bled into the fourth quarter. A 13-play, 81-yard drive. These are touchdown drives. Took 7 minutes and 35 seconds off the clock. There's another drive when it was 21-13. It started at 8:41 in the fourth quarter. 9 plays, 76 yards. That's 5:15 off of the clock. Just under, on those two touchdown drives, that took up just under half of the second half. So that's somewhere around 13 and a half minutes or so of the 30 minutes in the second half were on those two touchdown drives. Wisconsin just got gashed, and Penn State just beat them into the ground, and that's very similar to how they played against Illinois. I thought they finished stronger in this game on the road than they did against Illinois at home. They got the lead against Illinois, and they got that score late to win 21-7, but Penn State just had 2 long drives where they just ran it right at the Wisconsin defense. 173 yards on the ground for Penn State. Of course, Katron Allen did well. Nick Singleton, coming off of an injury, did pretty well. All of that considered as well. But this was a Penn State effort where they dared Wisconsin late in the game to line up and be able to stop them. Penn State's offensive line did a really good job wearing down the Wisconsin front in this game, and a big-time victory for the Penn State Nittany Lions over the Wisconsin Badgers. They remain undefeated going into that big showdown next week against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Of course, the big question is going to be the status of Drew Allar. I just get, every time I watch Penn State, I buy into it a little bit more, and I buy into it a little bit more. And now you look at how they're playing in a tough environment on the road against a hot team, against a good defense. I think they're going to take a lot of confidence. I think they're going to take a lot of momentum into next week's battle in Happy Valley against the old Buckeyes. Now, those are my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Penn State? Do you think that they can beat the Buckeyes next week after this performance against the Wisconsin Badgers? I want to hear all about that in the comments below. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.